You can see right there, there's missiles being impacted by Iron Dome missiles right on the screen. They have just launched missiles. Tzeva Adum has been issued for Sderot, Ibim, and Niram. You can see right there, there's missiles. It is 21:00 UTC time, which marks the apparent ceasefire time. We will see if they launch any other missiles after 21:00. They're currently launching missiles. More launches. Ashkelon, Tzeva Adum, Ashkelon, yellow. You can see right there the reporters moving the camera. Several barrages of rockets being launched up. They're continuing to launch missiles. You can see the Iron Domes impacting the missiles. The missile launching has stopped. Nope, right there's another one. Let me go ahead and read down locations that are under the Tzeva Adums. We have the Ashkelon Southern Industrial Zone, Zikum, Netiv HaAsara, Ashkelon South, and Karmia. More missile launches, more missile launches. Very large barrage of missiles going up. We have several locations under a red alert. I'm going to go ahead and read the locations. You can continue to see the missiles go up. Iron domes are most likely going to impact them here soon. Okay, the following locations are under Savadum: Zimbrat, Shuva, Kefar, Maimon, and Tushya, Saad, Alumim, Netivot, Kafar Azah, Beit Hagdi, Shokede, and Tukuma. You can continue to see missiles going up right overhead. The reporter, they have broken the ceasefire time, which was confirmed. It is currently 21:06, and the ceasefire time was 21:00. You can see right there on the camera the large amount of smoke from the very large barrage of missiles that went towards Israel earlier. We're going to continue to monitor the situation. Okay, we're going to be talking about the latest information that we have about the situation. We currently have a ceasefire, but it's unknown if they're going to send more rockets. This is currently all the information that we know. We have extreme damage in Ashkelon, and a home was destroyed significantly by a rocket in Sderot. These are all from the missiles. There have been injuries. So that's all we know as of right now. There was an explosion in central Gaza, and via what seems to be radio audio from Hamas, a airstrike occurred east of Zayton, Gaza. And there was recently just noted an explosion and a chopper attack in Gaza as well. We're going to continue to monitor the situation. If we can find anything, any more information, we will say it here.
Tulog pa siya, naggagayak na ako, naligo na ako, nag-impake na ako ng gamit.
We have just gotten new information that there is a chopper attack either ongoing or that it has occurred in western Gaza. There has been an explosion, apparently an explosion in Beit Lahia in northern Gaza. There was an airstrike on Al-Karaha, east of Khan Yunis, southern Gaza. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can find a different feed that shows anything. We'll try and see. This is new information obtained by Breaking News. The Islamic Jihad, which is basically the militant group that sends the missiles to Israel, has refused for the ceasefire, and they're continuing to launch missiles. We're gonna now go ahead and switch our live feed to to I-24 News.
Twilight zone, danger zone, if you will. People get a bit less alerted, if you will, but the home front command guidelines are still very much intact.
You're right, Ellie, and the Homefront Command instructions are in place, in fact, until Friday at 2 p.m. The instructions advise people to stay as close to shelters as possible. Now, especially in cities close to the border, many people have safe rooms and shelters within their apartments. Others are advised to stay as close to the public shelters as possible. Now, the city of Ashdod is less than 40 kilometers away from the Gaza Strip. Also here, we had an alert about 1.5 hours ago, and of course in the afternoon there were about 8 rockets launched. One fell very close into an open area close to a hospital. The city here is very quiet. It is a Wednesday evening. We are here across the sea from a street with many bars and restaurants, and this restaurant here behind me is one of the very few that is actually open. You see a couple of people sitting here, but if you look at the broader picture, if you drive through the city, it is indeed quite empty. And of course, this is taking a toll on the people. They are waiting, or they have been waiting for a response, for retaliation from Gaza, also throughout all of yesterday. Also, the instructions from the Homefront Command were already in place. Schools were closed, public gatherings were restricted, not more than 10 people outside, not more than 100 inside. Now, we've also seen that across the street from here is a wedding venue where a wedding took place, but of course also with not more than 100 people. So there are people who say that they do not want this tense security situation to take control over their lives. But of course, another alert could possibly go off any second. So only those shops and restaurants are allowed to open who have a safe room within their space. Also here, when we heard the alarm about 1.5 hours ago, we ran, in fact, into the kitchen of this restaurant. All of us here, those people, those guests of the restaurants. We also had the chance to speak to the owner of the restaurant, who told us that also, of course, economically, this is taking a toll on him. This is a new restaurant. He's worried because he also did not have many customers throughout the day. He was one of those people who also called upon both sides to agree to a ceasefire. The owner of this restaurant told us that he would support a ceasefire ceasefire as soon as possible. But we also spoke to people who say that this is the chance for Israel to cause a severe blow to Palestinian militant factions' infrastructure in Gaza. So, of course, different opinions here. But Eli, you really see two different approaches to this situation.
Right.
You see those who sit in this restaurant, many young people who come out, but also those who stay in their apartments really adhere to the home front command's instructions.
Yeah, no, we're just seeing images this past hour, Pia, from direct hits in the cities of Sderot and Ashkelon. Great damage, physical damage there, and luckily or thankfully, because people are adhering to the home front command guidelines, there were no injuries or casualties, but we can see again the level, the scope, the scale of the damage that is being caused when such direct hits are taking place. Pia Shekelbach in the southern city of Ashdod, thank you very much for this. Back here in studio with us, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus and Ari Zilber and Ashraf El-Ajrami joining us from Ramallah. We briefly mentioned that earlier, but Lieutenant Colonel Conricus, David Sling in a debut today. Talk to us a bit about this system. How is it different from the more familiar Iron Dome? What do we know after today's performance, if you will?
Yeah, it's the less famous and less known bigger brother of the Iron Dome. Iron Dome is the first and lowest tier in Israeli air defense. Above it is the David Sling, which is designed and has successfully done so in the past, intercept longer range missiles, not the longest range, but bigger incoming objects, be it missiles or rockets, fired at Israel. And then above that is another layer of strategic defense. But let's focus on David Sling.
Yeah.
It has been used in the past. I think it was in 2018 when there were missiles fired from Syria by Iranians at Israel. It was fired then with mixed results in real-world scenarios. And I read it as perhaps the Israeli defense establishment taking the opportunity to utilize this system that we have. We all know how incredibly effective and capable the Iron Dome is. We see that by the percentage rate and the interception rate, which is phenomenal. And the David Sling is a system that has far less track record, and I think that was probably part of the decision to use it this time. So far, what I'm hearing, good results, but we'll have to wait for official information from the IDF.
And I'll just add it really quickly. I don't have any inside information, but I imagine, in addition to wanting to test it out in the real-world conditions that we saw today, I was in Tel Aviv when that rocket was fired and intercepted by the David Sling, and it was indeed intercepted. And I imagine it was meant to send two messages to two different audiences. Number one, this is a system, David Sling, that will likely have to be deployed to stop a lot of Hezbollah longer range, as Jonathan said, these heavier, longer range missiles. And so you would need David Sling to protect precisely those urban areas like Tel Aviv from any future conflict in Lebanon. We talked earlier about the iron circle around the iron ring around Israel. That might have been not by chance at this time. Very recently, it was deployed. Number two, David Sling, unlike Iron Dome, is sold internationally, and so you could do a lot worse for future potential customers than to actually show them in a real-world setting in a high-visibility conflict with Gaza that this thing actually works.
Yeah. Back with Ashraf El-Ajrami joining us from Ramallah. As we were talking about the rising clout, rising influence of not just Hamas, but PIJ in the West Bank. My question to you, sir, is whether the next step at some point will be rockets from the West Bank. Is that a far-fetched scenario?
I don't think that they need the rockets in West Bank. They can do all clashes with the Israelis. There is direct confrontation with the Israelis in West Bank. There is no need to use instruments to over the borders between
the old methods are working well enough, you're saying?
I don't think that Hamas and other organizations think of missiles or rockets in West Bank. They can use their weapons, guns, everything. They have money in West Bank and they can use them easily, and they can get direct and physical connection with the Israeli settlers and the army and the people here in West Bank and East Jerusalem and even in Israel.
And Neri Zilber, another component here is, of course, the political landscape on the Israeli side. It feels like ages ago, but it was only yesterday when Operation Shield and Arrow was launched. With the Israeli Security Cabinet not in the mix, as in was greenlit not in the frameworks of the Security Cabinet, with many government ministers learning about it only in retrospect or as it was happening. Shortly after, and you will give the analysis from this point onwards, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, to an extent, took credit for applying pressure on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to launch this operation. Security officials quickly dismissed those claims, but this way or another, the optics of it are, there is an impact to Ben-Gvir's statement, if you will.
So I'm not one to defend Itamar Ben-Gvir, but I will say this. Ben-Gvir is a symptom and not the cause in terms of the politics of this operation and the calculations of Prime Minister Netanyahu. Ben-Gvir, like many other right-wing Israelis, both inside this coalition and outside, even on the streets, were quite upset and demanding of this Prime Minister and this government to take a more forceful response, whether it's rocket fire from Gaza or terror attacks in Jerusalem or the West Bank.
Not just members of the coalition, but they were also members of the opposition with similar...
the opposition was to be expected, but this is coming from the right, from Netanyahu's right, again, whether inside the government, inside the cabinet, or on the streets. And you saw it with public comments by local officials and even people on the streets that you spoke to. So Ben-Gvir, like all of these other people, were quite angry and were demanding publicly of the Prime Minister to take more forceful action. So this was even last week and even before last week. And so Ben-Gvir's ultimatum later in the week was a symptom and not a cause for Netanyahu and hit the higher security echelon to actually make this decision. By the way, it predates Ben-Gvir's ultimatum, but I should say this. After last Tuesday's rocket fire, 100 rockets were fired from Gaza in response to the Islamic Jihad prisoner in the hunger strike dying in an Israeli prison. The response by the IDF was very soft in terms of just firing on military targets inside Gaza, no real casualties. And I tweeted out, and I said it publicly in other fora, that this was likely a feint by the Israeli military and Israeli government, that they were probably biding their time to create a more operational capability to strike exactly like we saw 2 nights ago. So if I knew this, then other people should have known it. And Ben-Gvir was trying to ride the political wave.
Okay, we're turning now back to Pierre Chandler in the city of Sderot. Pierre, we were talking earlier about rushing to shelter, and we're seeing those live images from a direct hit in the city of Sderot, emphasizing how crucial this guideline is, not just lip service.
Absolutely, it's a crucial instruction, a crucial guideline in Nir Am, which is just facing Sderot. It's a couple of hundred of meters from the exit of this city. There was a direct hit on a house, and there's heavy damage. But the family in the house stayed in their protected room, and they were unscathed. So really, definitely, this saves lives. There's 2 things which saves life. It's the Iron Dome, but also the fact that you're in a protected shelter. That's the most important thing, probably.
Pierre Chandler, live for us in the city of Sderot. Take care, stay safe. Much more from Pierre throughout our rolling coverage here. And reports that the Israeli Air Force is launching fresh strikes in the Gaza Strip, as again a senior official from the Palestinian Islamic Jihad saying this past hour, no ceasefire yet. Contacts are still underway, but we did not reach a ceasefire with Israel. Mr. Conriquez, speaking about next week sounds a bit far-fetched at this point in time, but there is a big day next week, Jerusalem Day, with the traditional flag march. Usually a point of contention, and I'm putting it in a very diplomatic manner here. What should Israel do? Not conducting it in the traditional route is caving into terrorism, according to some. Holding it and risking another uptick in violence, the ramifications are clear. What should be the Israeli policy here?
My personal point of view is that if that is a tradition that we have in Israel to mark the day of the unification of our capital in modern times and to mark it with flags, I think we should do so.
Yeah.
We should probably be smart in the way that we do it, and we should probably communicate what we're going to do, what we're going to tolerate, and what we're not going to tolerate to all of the involved parties. I don't think that it's so contended. It's just an excuse for our various enemies, whether in Ramallah, in Gaza, or in Tehran, something else that they latch onto and try to use as an excuse to fire against Israel or to engage against Israel. Regarding the route of where it should go, which is always a topic, here I really think it's better to be smart now than have to think about explanations afterwards. So I think we should have a parade for those who want to go and march. That's great. But be smart about where we lead it and make sure that everybody understands what we're doing and what we're not going to tolerate.
Yeah, this region not lacking triggers or excuses.
Definitely not.
If you will. Mr. Ashraf El-Ajrami, obviously watching the developments here, the people of the Palestinians in the West Bank, we have been seeing a month-long counterterrorism operation there on behalf of Israeli security forces, and yet a wave of terror attacks are being conducted. What will be the ripple effect in the West Bank, according to your understanding?
I think the Palestinian people in large doesn't want to see the Israeli attack in Gaza Strip, and civilians are killed by this attack. And they are in a position of solidarity of the people in Gaza Strip and West Bank and other places. But also it's something bring people to think of how to react against the Israeli aggression. And I think it also drives people, young people mainly, to engage in resistance against Israeli occupation in West Bank and East Jerusalem. And if we are speaking about the flags march in East Jerusalem, you should understand that Palestinians and the whole international community see East Jerusalem as part of the occupied territories. It is not part of the Israeli capital, even if Israel annexed it in 1967. This is a matter of conflict, and because of that, Israel should behave in a clever way, not to provocate Palestinians and to bring more and more clashes between the two sides.
خليك ساعتين بعدين. مين؟ أنا سامع. خليك تمام. إيه؟ خابس بس. أنس قاعدين خلاص المستشفى متحرك في المستشفى. مش لازم يعني شو اسمه حاليا ولا تطلع على المكان لو جنبك الدار موجودة. بعمل نفسي كان متعب. كيف؟ والله مش هذا شو اسمه. بس الشباب مع الزين بس بدها كان حدا كمان بادع شوي. انا بدي قاعد بعد الحرب. بسيط.
There has been a confirmed airstrike in northern Gaza. It has been confirmed via a video recently released. So once again, there has been a confirmed airstrike in the northern Gaza Strip.
هي رجعت خلاص الكاميرا يا احمد مو يا احمد من هنا فاتح انت امشي يا ابو خميس خبرينا ابو انس انا خليه يحكي معاكم انتوا الاثنين اسمعوا عشان نسمع امشي يا ابو خميس بزاد من اللايف انزل اسمع ايش اسمك مكمل تعال جيب كل شيء اقسم بالله بدي اشرب وين؟ خبرت الشاشة مصرية صرعين باتجاه منطقة الغلاف شرق محافظة الوسطى تابع ماشي يقول لك دخل في وقت اطلاق النار مسألة اعلانات ممنوع اغتيال في ضحك
لا هم اختلفوا على شغلتين بس يعني اسرائيل توافق على انه يحسن، بس اللي هو الوقت اللي فيها في الضغط. اسرائيل مش
مين اللي على التكنولوجيا؟ نزل الصف، نزل على التشخيص. لا لا بدي اسمع خصوصا كيف سعد
الشاب يوميا بس لكل صور اليوم.
We're gonna go ahead and end the stream.